All right, peace. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving honor and praise to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Giving double honors to 7130 South Chicago that taught me this truth. And giving double honors to all the brothers and sisters that the Creator has awoken in these last days. With that being said, peace and shalom. All right, brothers and sisters, I want to go into a video by I think it's Valuetainment TV sports clip, but it's a guy that I watch. I think he's Iranian, and he's interviewing a guy by the name of Bryce Mitchell, right? And I want to show some of his views on quote unquote the Muslim community, right? And before I show the video, for disclaimer, this is for educational purposes only. This is not for monetary gain or anything like that. This is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes only. So, with no further ado, let's listen to.
I love them to death, and they're the closest things to Christians we got.
Tell me more.
Well, because they believe in a God. They know that there's a God. They have a way of life. They have a book that they follow. They're very devout people. They've just been deceived. You know, and I think it's this simple. The life of Muhammad speaks for itself. When you talk about a man who, in factual statement right here, Muhammad was a pedophile by today's standards. So you're talking about a man who was a pedophile. He had a 6-year-old wife, a 9-year-old wife, 11-year-old wife, had all these wives. He's not righteous. Jesus Christ is the one who's righteous. But these people have been deceived by Muhammad.
Now, what's interesting about this, because I'm not going to play it too much because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But what's interesting about the so-called white man, he always run around talking about his God and things of this nature. Now, as you can hear, he was referring to the Muslim community, right? And a lot of them do this, like before they start to ridicule and criticize somebody, they first got to say that we love you, all this type of stuff. But they love, like if you love a person, first of all, you wouldn't be running around pillaging and conquering different people around the world if you really cared about these people. And this is what a lot of these Christians do. This is how hypocritical they are when they make these asinine statements that they make. So he starts out talking about how he loved the Muslim community and things of this nature. But then he starts to make he started making these comments about the so-called prophet, which was Muhammad, right? Calling Muhammad a pedophile, right? Now, let me look at the scripture real quick. This is the book of Matthew, the 7th chapter, and I'm going to start reading at the first verse. It says, "Judge not, that ye be not judged," right? And why is this saying? It's not saying that you can't judge people, but why is the Messiah talking like this? It's because the Messiah is speaking to the hypocrisy of the community of the Israelites, right, is because you had people that was in power and people in the community. They was quick to judge people by quote unquote the law. But in actuality, they don't even keep the law themselves. So this is why he's making a statement and saying, judge not that ye be not judged, right? Is because, and that's of today's standards. Now, a lot of these Christians, they will sit back and talk about the law of Moses is done away with. But here it is, this guy is talking about that basically we're up under grace, right? We're up under the grace of Jesus Christ. But here it is, this guy is condemning, quote unquote, Muslims, calling their leader, quote unquote, a pedophile, right? And notice, he said of today's standards, he will be called a pedophile, right? But you got to understand the culture back then, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but see, this is the hypocrisy of the Christian community. Because if you're gonna call Prophet Muhammad a pedophile, which I agree with him, should no man be sleeping with a 7-year-old child, right? But you gotta say that the person that gave birth to the Messiah, right? How old was she? According to their history, that Mary was around 12 or 13 years old. So, but what they will say is it had to be done because that was of the Lord. So, was the Lord a pedophile that he will put a baby in a 13-year-old child? And see, like, this is the stupidity of these quote unquote Caucasians. It's because here it is, they're calling Muhammad a pedophile. But look at their history though. When they took us over here as slaves, which is the true descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? This is what they did. They raped, murdered, and destroyed our people. If you go back and look at the movie called Goodbye Uncle Tom, which was banned from the country in the 1970s, this movie just really came out. It talked about, it showed graphic tales of how the so-called white man, these were Christians, right? They had our people as sex slaves. And you had sex slaves in this country from the ages of, I think, about 4 to adulthood. They had us as sex workers. And they showed depicted scenes of you'll have an older so-called white man greasing the black people down with oil and things of this nature. So who is this guy to sit up here and talk about anybody being a pedophile or a degenerate? And here it is, he practiced a religion that committed the same tenets on other people. One of the reasons why you will have a lot of these Caucasians coming at the Muslim community like this is because the Muslim community want to maintain their culture. So if we can't conquer you, then we're going to do what? We're going to always slander you in the media. And this is the, and see, he's a product of what you would call the white Caucasian educational system, because the educational system of the white man is racist. And by all means, don't think that I'm really taking up for the Muslim community, because they're the same way. They the same way. They had the same stuff that he said about the Muslim community. They did it to the so-called black man. They had us in slavery too. But it's interesting how he said that Jesus was so perfect. And first of all, there's no one walking around 2,000 years ago that's of the Israelite community that's calling itself Jesus. This is this is a Greco-Roman educational system that has been bombarded on our people. So this is the hypocrisy that we're talking about. So what most of these white folks like to do, they like to condemn your way of life so that you can come on to their way of life, but their way of life is just as grabby and just as hateful and disrespectful as quote unquote your way of life, right? So I'm gonna play some more of the clip, and then I'm going
Muhammad
to
came
chime
after
in.
Jesus Christ. Okay, Jesus Christ had long been on this planet before Muhammad. He comes around and he's trying to steal all the glory. But this is not a righteous man. Okay, and like I said, by all accounts, he's a pedophile. And I don't care if Muslims come bomb my farm right now. I don't care. I'm going to tell the truth, and the truth is Muhammad's a pedophile. I won't worship him. He's not a holy.
And like I said, if Muhammad is a pedophile, right, then you gotta call your God a pedophile too, is because your God put a, according to you, you say that your God put a baby in a woman, right? She was around 12 or 13 years old. Is it that what you would call pedophile behavior? It's because that was a young woman. Of today's standard, if I go out here and mess with a 13-year-old that's still in grammar school, right, I'm going to jail. I'm going to jail. It's because you can't deal with a woman that's 13 or 12 years old. I'm 48 years old. Let's say I go out here and deal with a young female that's 12 or 13 years old, right, because she's a quote-unquote virgin. I'm going to be right in jail. And you know what these people going to call me? They're going to call me a pedophile. So here it is. Your educational system is teaching people that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which that stuff never happened. But what I'm saying is that your God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or quote unquote the Christian God, impregnated a woman at the age of 13 to 12 years old. So that's the same thing. That's pedophile behavior, if you're going to say that. That's why the scripture says, Matthew 7:1, judge not that ye be not judged. It's interesting to me on how the Caucasian community are always quick to condemn people, but here it is, they never want to talk about what they did in history. Because this same behavior, right, that Muhammad was doing, quote unquote, the white man was doing it too. See? He was doing it too. He was running around here raping people and murdering people. This is what the Christian community was doing. And when they was doing it, they was using certain passages from the Bible to promote their ideology. That God gave them the right to come over here and take people as slaves. God gave them the right to set up what you would call the black belt, where black people couldn't even come into white communities and things of this nature. This is what Christianity in this country has set up in America. And even to this day, I'm watching this movie called Landman with Billy Bob Thornton, right? And Billy Bob Thornton is an employee for a quote unquote big time billionaire philanthropist that go around drilling oil out of the ground. So what are they doing when they drill this oil? A lot of times this oil is getting into the community's water. And you have had documented proof that you had a lot of these folks that the oil from fracking has got into their water, and the people is drinking this water. A lot of times they got to cook with this water, right? Because a lot of them they come from poor areas, so-called white people coming from poor areas, and that because they fracking all this water, that the water is spilling over the oil is spilling over into the water, and the people are getting cancer from this water. And here it is, this country is supposed to be founded on what they would call Christian values. That's what I'm saying. This guy is a hypocrite. And he represents, quote unquote, the hypocrisy of this country. If you're going to call Muhammad a pedophile or a sinner, right? Then you got to do the same thing for the Christian community, because y'all have done the same thing. Y'all have bragged about, see, this is what you would call a so-called white man that lives in the community. You had people like him that was living in the 17, 16 foot, during the inception of the country. They would see a black girl walking down the street, they'll rape her. See? And then they will go to court because the family will try to bring them up on charges, and they will get away with stuff like this. And see, this type of behavior, this type of hypocrisy that these people are doing, this is why the country is failing in the first place. It's because the Most High is judging these folks because of what? Because of their deeds that they have done in the earth. Let's look at this. This is verse 2 of the 7th chapter of the book of Matthew. It says, "For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again." See? So the same stuff that you criticizing Muhammad for doing, y'all did the same thing in the name of Jesus. How you was taking our kids when we was living in the swamps over there in Mississippi. You was kidnapping our kids, and you was using our kids as alligator bait. You was strap harnesses around our kids' necks. First of all, you was killing little kids, and then you was strapping harnesses around their necks and throwing them into the river, whether they was still living or they was dead already. This is what y'all was doing to catch alligators. But see, it's going to come a time, and this is already happening. This is why the country is up in an uproar, see, around the world, is because the people are starting to see America for what she is. It's because America is nothing but a big old hypocrite. That's why the scripture says, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye meet, it shall measure, it says, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother eye, but consider not the beam that is in thy own eye? See, these Caucasians, these heathens, they never consider the stuff that they have done in history and what they're doing today. They're still practicing the same form of racism that they did. Well, it's a different form of racism. It's because it's what you would call covert racism, right? It's because they can't come out and say that they hate sad niggas today. They can't come out and say that they hate all black people in the country. So what they do, they set up covert racism, meaning that they come into your communities and set up businesses in the communities, and they take all the wealth out of your community, and they leave your communities destroyed. See, this is covert racism. They still set up educational systems in the country today that is not dealing with the culture of the people that they're educating. And the people that they're educating, they take on the white man's culture, right? And then what? They don't even know nothing about their own culture. And this is what they have done to our communities, right? And then when you have no economics, no education, no proper leadership, and the health is bad, then they sit back, because when you don't have that, what happens? The people start being savages amongst themselves. And then they sit back and they say, well, I didn't have nothing to do with this. This is what black people are doing amongst each other. But here it is, they set up what you would call the seeds of destruction in the communities. That's what I'm saying. This guy has no business talking about Muhammad or nobody else. It's because Christianity is nothing but a slave religion. And they have went around the world controlling other people's natural resources. They have killed off leaders, and they have put up new leaders to promote their agenda. And then he talks about, well, I don't care if they bomb my house and stuff. But see, that type of stuff is coming. It's because really, all of these folks are hypocrite. And even the human family. Most of us, we claim to follow God, but here it is, our deeds and our actions is of the devil. See? So it says, and why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thy own eye? See, we don't consider the racism and degradation that we have done in this country, and that we are doing, not we, but that y'all are doing amongst other people. See, one of the reasons why you want to conquer Iran, and you want to conquer North Korea, you want to conquer Russia, you want to conquer all the countries that is against you, right? You want to conquer China, is because those people are independent of themselves, and they're not going to allow you to come over there and teach their kids your false culture. How is the Christian community is of the Most High, and here it is, you are promoting a spirit and a culture that is turning the male man into what? A female. See? This is what's going on in the country. And you support that, right? How is this a Christian nation or a Christian country? And here it is. Uh you always taxing the poor, and then you turn around, you give the wealthy. The wealthy don't have to really pay tax. The poor is always the one that is being taxed. That's what I'm saying. You can't consider the beam in somebody else's eye if you're not going to consider the mote or the beam that's in your eye. It says, or how wilt thou say to thy brother? Because he said that he loved them, right? Because every time I hear a Christian, for now, I hear a Christian say that they're a Christian, I'm going to say, are you anointed by the Creator? Because that's the true definition of being a Christian. Because the term Christ means anointed. So if you're a Christian, I'm going to ask you, are you anointed by the Most High? See? And if you say, yeah, then how are you anointed by the Most High? And here it is, you done put the black man in slavery. And then when you freed him in 1865, you didn't put him back in this country. You didn't set up a government for him and show him how to cultivate the land, re-educate him, reintroduce him back into his culture. You didn't do that. You destroyed him. And then you set up educational systems in the country that did what? That discriminated against him. Told him that he had to drink from this fountain. You can't drink from the white man's fountain. The white man's water is better than the nigger's water. This is what Christianity has done in this country. And like I said, you still doing it. Here it is, all the wars that y'all have fought over there in South America to control the poppy fields and all these different natural resources and things of this nature. See, and when you lost the war, you set up heavy sanctions over the country, destroy the people, and now you mad because their children is starting to come over here and live in the country. Right? Here it is, when we watch Cocaine Cowboys, we see how the Caucasian was bringing drugs over here by the boatload, and what was they doing? They was putting a lot of those drugs in the black community. Ronald Reagan, all these Christians, when they was fighting the Contra Wars, they was putting the drugs in the black neighborhood and then turn around and giving black folks life sentences over something that they was doing in the community. This is your Christianity here. It says, or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thy eye, and behold, a beam is in thy own eye. See, this is what I'm saying. They sit on these podcasts and then they condemn everybody else, but they don't start at the root. It's because the people, everybody is following after the whore. And see, who is the modern day whore today? That's America. They talk about how Hitler was the worst person in the world. But here it is, before a lot of that stuff was going on over there in Europe, in Germany, they classified Hitler as the greatest person on earth in Time magazine, I believe during the 1940s. He was in a Time Life magazine. in America, uh, they was bringing a lot of these different German scientists before the Holocaust, and the German scientists was teaching them how to create a mechanism to destroy black and brown people of this country. This is what these Christians don't talk about. The hypocrisy and the racism that they have always preached in this country. 5. Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thy own eye, and then shalt thou be clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. Let's read that over. It says, thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thy own eye. See, you got to take the racism and the hypocrisy out of your own spirit before you start condemning somebody else. You can't call Muhammad a pedophile or a person that's messing with young girls and things, and you did the same thing. You did the same thing. Your history is documented in this. See, you didn't betroth young black women because you looked at them as savages, but see, you quote unquote you took the tail. That's what you did. You raped the women. You set up breeding. You set up breeding. You set up breeding schools that was breeding black folks with other black folks. Just like how it's big business on selling dogs. Let's say you buy a pit bull. You know, I'm just using a pit bull because that's the favorite dog that I like, right? But you got different breeds of pit bulls. You got gator. You got all these different breeds, right? This is what they was doing with us. They was breeding us for slavery. If a white man had a white woman if a white man had a black woman that they bought in slavery, do you know that they went over to different towns to speak to the other owners of black people? Like, say if a white man had a black woman, they would go to another town and they would speak to another person that had a black male. And they will come together as a business so that both of them they can breed them together so that they can do what? They can have children, quote unquote puppies. And they sell the pup they take the puppies amongst themselves. This is the type of stuff that the Christians was doing in this country. But you know, we can't talk about things like that. Right? 6th verse. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs. And see, the Christians are going around promoting the black man's culture, but really they are what? The dogs of the earth. See? Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. Peace, shalom.